The Kansas City Chiefs need to trade for a wide receiver. I'm Harrison Graham. Welcome into 4 Verts, where we talk about all the major NFL and college football storylines. And obviously, Rashee Rice's injury, a major storyline in the NFL right now, as he is suspected to have torn his ACL. That is pending an MRI, which should have already taken place this morning. By the time you watch this, it's probably official that he has torn his ACL. And the obvious response that's been going on around the internet since then is that the Chiefs pretty clearly need a wide receiver. Marquise Brown was already likely out for the year. There's a small chance he could return for the playoffs, but that is unlikely. Rice not going to return this year if this is indeed a torn ACL. Kansas City desperately needs to add some help at the wide receiver position. So on today's show, we're going to explore some players that I think Chiefs General Manager Brett Veach could explore to help replace the lost production without Marquise Brown and Rashee Rice. Before we do that, hit the subscribe button here on 4 Verts. We need at least 15 subscribers from this video if you guys want me to do a Monday Night Football doubleheader reaction. If we don't get 15 new subscribers, no Monday Night reaction tonight. So help us out. Free content here on a daily basis. If you enjoy this show, prove it and subscribe to the channel. We react to big games. We bring you the latest news and my analysis to everything surrounding the National Football League. So rock with us all season long. Take a look at the Chiefs cap situation. They actually only have about $4.9 million right now. Now, they could move some money around. They could cut a player. They could restructure one of their bigger contracts. There's some things they could do to create more money if they needed to, but it's not exactly this isn't the Patriots with like $30 million in cap space. This is a team that's a little tight on its books, and that's the reality of having a lot of high-paid players. But they could move some money around, and some of the guys we're going to talk about actually have low cap hits for this year, and they could absorb their contracts. Let's just come out swinging. Could the Chiefs bring back Tyreek Hill? And the way his contract is structured, for Kansas City, they actually could make this work. They would only inherit about a $2 million cap hit for this year. Now, that fluctuates and would decrease the closer you get to the trade deadline because it's obviously prorated week by week. But the way Miami structured his deal when they gave him a pay raise, if a team were to trade for him, the cap hit would actually not be that big, which is pretty fascinating. And look, this is obviously a long shot. The Chiefs traded him for a reason. They didn't want to pay him top dollar. Beyond this year, they would have a major contract on their hands with him. He's over 30 years older. I think he's exactly 30 now. But if you're serious about a three-peat, imagine the impact Tyreek Hill could have. Now, from the Dolphins' standpoint, they would take on a major cap hit for this year. They just gave him a pay raise. But what if this Tua thing doesn't work out? What if they feel like they need to blow things up and draft a new quarterback? Well, if you could get a first-round pick for Tyreek Hill, that helps you fast-track a rebuild. So I'm not sitting here acting like the Dolphins would do it. This definitely wouldn't be something that would happen in the next week. But what if you get to the trade deadline and they're like 2-6 and they say, you know what, we're pulling the plug on this thing? I mean, if you're Kansas City, you'd have to at least consider that, right? You would have to at least have the conversation of what could Tyreek Hill mean to this offense in trying to chase a three-peat. He knows the offense. Him and Patrick Mahomes had a great connection. It would open up Travis Kelce even more. They already brought back Kareem Hunt. Bring the band back together, baby. It would be definitely very, very interesting. I admit it's a long shot, but financially it actually works. And this is a team that's trying to chase history with the three-peat. I wouldn't completely dismiss it. A more realistic guy also in the AFC is Amari Cooper, who doesn't seem that happy in Cleveland right now and has a very team-friendly cap hit for this year of only $1.2 million if Kansas City were to trade for him. So, it's one of those deals where they could bring him in. He's not a bona fide top 5 guy, but he's a pretty good player. They can afford him, and he's a free agent after this year, so if it doesn't work out or they don't want to re-sign him and pay him, it's kind of just a quality rental, right? Hey, come in here, be our number one on the outside, and let's go chase the Super Bowl. And something's felt off with him ever since the whole Brandon Ayuk trade rumor surfaced. Like, remember, there was a report out there that the 49ers would trade Ayuk to Cleveland for Amari Cooper and I think a second-round pick. That was the trade that was being rumored out there, and the 49ers were ready to do that, but Ayuk didn't sign off on it, and ultimately it never happened. But Amari Cooper put on his Instagram story, said, LOL, I wouldn't mind it. And ever since then, things have just felt a little bit off. Obviously, the Browns are struggling. Deshaun Watson's just not very good anymore, so I would think he'd be pretty excited to go play for Kansas City. Great route runner, gets open consistently, type of receiver that Mahomes would excel with, I would think. So he's a realistic guy with a realistic price tag. KC would maybe have to pay a premium with it being an AFC team, but second-round pick for Amari Cooper, I think that's something I would do if I was Brett Veach. How about DeAndre Hopkins? A little bit older, probably not in peak form, but I still think there's a decent amount of juice left in the tank here with DeAndre Hopkins. He's also a free agent after this year, so if you didn't want to keep him long-term, that wouldn't be an issue either. And if the Titans lose a couple more games, they play tonight on Monday Night Football, and if they're well below 500 near the deadline, Hopkins could be a guy that just makes way more sense for a contender. Now, he came into this season with an $8.27 million cap hit for a team trading for him. Now, obviously the Chiefs only have $4.9 million, but it goes down by weeks. So we're already 4 weeks in, so knock off 25% of that, you're down to $6 million something. So if a few more weeks go by and if you restructure a contract, you could absorb DeAndre Hopkins. $8 million in descending is certainly manageable. Now, it's not as easy as Amari Cooper's for this year or even Tyreek Hill. Hill's issue would be beyond this year with the amount of money he still owed. But if they really wanted to, they could bring in Hopkins. And there were a lot of rumors that they were going to sign him last year when he ultimately went to Tennessee. I think they wanted to get him, but they wanted a one-year deal, and Tennessee gave him 2. But maybe now is the time that he becomes a Chief and is Patrick Mahomes' top receiver. Now, he's playing through a knee issue. He suffered, I think, a minor tear in his MCL, and he's playing through it. So that's a bit of a concern. You'd certainly have to complete the medical exam before finalizing that trade. But he's still pretty good, man. Problem is, Will Levis is a joke. Diontae Johnson, another kind of, not a true bona fide number one, but a guy that the Chiefs would plug and play right away. His skill set translates to what they've had historically, undersized, fast guys that get open. That's what he does. Again, also a free agent after this year. So if Brett Veach is in the camp of not wanting to commit long-term, this is another player in that realm. Now, like Hopkins, a little more of a cap hit, $7 million, but that's coming down. It's probably in the 5-something range through 4 weeks. So, by the deadline, it would potentially even be below the $4.9 million. And again, they could restructure, move some things around with another player. I've always liked Diontae Johnson. He's not a number one, like I said, but I think he would fit in pretty well. He's kind of what they wanted Sky Moore to be, just a guy that gets open and is good after the catch. And Sky Moore has just never turned to that, and he's a player that is going to have to play snaps now, which is why the Chiefs really need to trade for one of these players. How about Darius Slayton? He's been connected to trade rumors for years now. He's also a free agent after this year. His cap hit would only be $2.5 million and a little bit less now that we're into the season. So a contract the Chiefs could absorb pretty easily. Now, he's the smallest name compared to these other guys, but 5 straight 700-plus yard seasons. He's been consistent, big body guy on the outside that can win one-on-ones. Maybe he would take a little bit more time to learn this offense because he is a different type of receiver compared to these other guys. But if they wanted to kind of trade lower, trade like a day 3 pick for Darius Slayton, they could certainly do that, whereas most of the other guys would be a day 2 pick. Now, maybe you get Hopkins or Diontae Johnson for like a 4th. Slayton, though, would probably be like a 6th. So if they wanted to go kind of on the cheaper route, they could certainly do just that. All right, let's just finish with this. It's not going to happen, but it should be mentioned. Davante Adams, a lot of people think he could get moved before the deadline, although the Raiders are 2-2, and they're at least competitive at this point in the season. He would be fun as hell in this offense. His ability to separate with Patrick Mahomes would be really fun as well, but I just don't see a world where the Las Vegas Raiders trade him to the Kansas City Chiefs. It's just not you don't trade players of this caliber within the division unless they pay a major premium, which the Chiefs would have to do. And even then, I'm not sure I could do it if I was Vegas, helping out the team that has kicked our ass and won Super Bowls in the last 5 years. So I just don't see that scenario being a possibility. I would like to see it as a football fan. It would be fun to watch, but I just don't see a world where that happens. Let us know in the comments section. Name a wide receiver the Chiefs should trade for. Maybe it's someone we already mentioned. Maybe it's someone else. Give us your thoughts down in the comments section below. And also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It's youtube.com/@4verts. Let's get 15 new subs so we can do a little Monday Night Football doubleheader reaction video tonight. Let's keep this channel growing. Want to continue to crank out content for you guys. My name is Harrison Graham. Hopefully, we will see you guys tonight.